In a world of awakened people, the dream of any ordinary person is to become a hero. But becoming a hero with just any ability is not enough, as simple abilities hardly differentiate from normal people. The main goal is to become a god, and after a long time working, that day finally came for that guy. He began to be worshipped as a supreme being and gain the highest possible ability. The Supreme Finger. I am Krawler and I will tell you how this guy became the enemy of the entire universe. One day, the doors of a dungeon were opened and many monsters escaped, a total disaster for humanity. However, hunters who had their awakening took this chance to improve their powers. The new energy collected from hunting these monsters became the hope of humanity. The hunters were classified according to their abilities from Class G to SSS. Those of Class G are not much different from ordinary people, while those of Class SSS are people who can save the world, just like this woman in the poster that this girl is looking at. This girl, Sun Miri, went to the center of the hunters to do her 10th ability re-evaluation. Being that she is Class B to this day, that is, rising in class in this world is almost impossible. And while she was thinking about the death of the calf, someone appeared there. A strange guy asking the girl not to find him strange. It's already getting strange there, right? And then she pulls out her electric fist, and the guy puts his foot down, saying that they're calling him, and later, after the exam, she discovers that she remains in rank B. She cannot surpass her limiter. For now she receives an emergency call on her cell phone. A Class A monster had just appeared in the city. With its power, it can reach to destroy an entire city alone. A man and a little girl who were fleeing the scene become the target of the creature. However, she appears to save the two. But her power doesn't even affect the creature. She prepares herself and tries again. But the creature is beyond her level. The monster ends up attacking her, leaving her injured. But she cannot give up now. There are survivors around here still, so she sends them away and prepares to face her destiny. But she has already used too much of her power. It seems that her life ends there. However, she has a motivation. She witnessed the death of her parents while she was young, and then swore revenge. She gets up and quickly prepares another attack, but now, she hears a voice in her head and starts overflowing with power. The rank A creature was defeated by a rank B hunter. She ended up in a report. Not even she believes what happened. How the hell did she make a hole in such a high rank creature? Then the young man who was saved comes to thank Sung Miri, and then they leave. However, how does this guy know her name? She uses this shitty helmet and a hero name, Aka Emperor Lightning. And that's when she realizes that the voice she heard in her head at that moment sounded exactly like the young man's. But who is he, after all? Let's find out now. He leaves the place and goes to a bridge. Today he and his niece almost got killed, and just because of that damn cell phone. But to understand his whole story, we need to go back a few days in the past, where it all began. He was writing his novel, but he was having a creative block. So he decided to look at his cell phone. He sees that, out of nowhere, an app appeared there that he didn't remember installing. The name was Creator of Gods, but it just seemed to be a game to kill ants, right? And as if he didn't want anything, he went there and killed the poor thing. And at that moment, a coin came out of the cell phone right on the protagonist's forehead. Finally, he awakened his hunting ability. So he goes to the agency, and they start making fun of his name, Yu IlI-shin. It was better not to have even discovered that name. It looks like a medicine name. And yes, he gets an ability, and his dreams start to sprout right. He can become a superhero, surrounded by women, because he is Class SSS.
You are rank G, however.
One night, while he was trying to write, but nothing came out, he decides to watch a little TV to clear his mind, but only advertisements were showing, so he preferred to sleep. Only preferred, right? Because his cell phone wouldn't stop ringing, and he simply went crazy and spent the whole night killing ants and winning coins. The next day, he realizes that a large part of the coins was no longer there. That's because he took so many that they joined together, forming several 100 coins. And his night was paid. He finally got a bonus, the coin of the gods. Of course he accepts, right? But something unexpected happens. Meanwhile, various important people gathered at the agency, because finally a hunter was able to open the hunter's store. A rare ability that very few can awaken. And who was this guy? Logically, it wasn't the protagonist. It was Kang Woo of rank S. When he opens his store, an immense energy is released. It's not an ability that anyone can use, but nobody can see, right? Because the store can only be seen by the user. That's why he is accompanied by Seon Mina. She will be able to show everyone using her psychomancy. And so it was done. Look at that finger's lap, my god, and the bald man almost dead back there. Sorry. Going back to the story. There are various very strong and very expensive items, items that are known only in legends and myths. However, they are bought with gold. That is 300 million gold is about 30 trillion won, which is around 100 million. However, the national fortune depends exclusively on this, so it is extremely important to keep it secret until the project finally starts to move forward. Going back to our Il-shin, to open the god store, he needs to spend 100 coins, but that's not a problem, right? He has several there, but when he opens the store, he doesn't understand anything that is written. All the items are in a different language, and with the price right below. In addition, he spent the whole night and only managed to get 300 coins, while the items are extremely expensive. However, the store updates itself, showing a 100 gold product. It was the eye of the blind god. He will not be able to see the truth even if it is right in front of him. So what's the use of this? It seems more like a negative effect than a positive one. He buys it and becomes blind. We have our first blind hero here. He tries to walk around, but just ends up hitting his little finger. And it hurts. Trust me, personal experience. So he regains his sight and is surprised. Now he can read what is written in the store. Among these abilities is the most expensive possible, the creation of heaven and earth, but it's far beyond his economy. So he decides to look around a bit more and finds an ability, the crushing finger. And since he can't buy anything else, it's serving its purpose. So he gets his first ability, the crushing finger of God. But after all, what does it do? So the maniac tests it in his own home. Imagine if he destroys the apartment, this fool. However, at the moment, it's only serving to turn on and off the air conditioning. Basically, it's a remote control. It doesn't take long for him to use this finger for everything, shameless guy. But he received a call. It was from his boss, saying that what he wrote was amazing, but all he had written was what he experienced from the game and all. But there's a big problem in the story. It doesn't have a next chapter, because the guy is a bum. He almost never delivers on time, but he says he will deliver in 2 days, so mark it down. He goes back to killing the ants, since they served as inspiration for his writing. He was farming infinitely and generating more and more 100 coins, but he still needs many to acquire a really good product. However, he sees another one that is cheaper, the protection of the god of growth, and then he gets excited to get those 1000 coins, but soon after, an ant refuses to die. It was number 404. It's bigger, stronger and more red than all the others, but this won't stop our little Il-shin from completing his goals. In reality it will. Even in a state of rage, he can't touch the ant. It's an unexpectedly strong boss, but since it doesn't die, why not just kill the soldiers around it? He spent the day hunting ants until he got a total karma of 800, missing only 200 to get the title of the great malevolent god who seeks power and defeat. He will receive a reward as soon as the title is received, but the guy just falls asleep. The sleep hit hard, and suddenly, his eye of the blind god ability is activated. He will start to see what these and within your dream, a movie theater room is created with popcorn and everything, and begins to play something that takes your total attention. The story of Ant 404. She was returning from the desert after a long war against the Black Tribe. They had the power of a god on their side. He sacrificed his own beliefs, taking the souls of his poor soldiers. But there is no time to lose. He needs to urgently warn his brothers about what happened. After traveling a long way through the desert, he finally arrives at his home, so weak that he can barely walk. And while the soldiers ate, he comes bringing the news that he finally found the territory of his prey. But the black god defeated all his troops. They need to do something before he comes to them. But no one believes in a god. Right, you were defeated because you are weak, you're useless. But someone arrives there, and quickly all the soldiers form. It was the great sage. 404 kneels. But the sage's words move him. He believes what he told and says that a mere god cannot invade the territory of your majesty. And seeing the small soldier crying after everyone doubted him, the great sage puts his hand under his head and just says, "May nature be with you," healing all his wounds and giving him additional power. Then he sends the soldier to guide him, because the great sage will kill that god they talk so much about. Everyone is touched by his words and also rebel. Now they will march to victory. After this crazy dream, our great Il-shin wakes up in shock with a notification on his cell phone. The ant was waiting for him. And the protagonist too. Man is very angry. But there is something strange. The bearded ant of your dream appeared in the game and cast a spell right in the middle of his forehead. He is shocked because it was strong enough to open a wound. But the barbarians' troops are not joking. They are emanating power and start launching more and more spells, leaving the black god disoriented. All the troops are proud of the feat. These acts are things that your majesty would certainly reward, but he is trembling with exhaustion. Skills like this are not easy to conjure. And soon after comes the great counterattack. The ancient ant was subjugated, and not only he, but all the troops of the army are being eliminated, one after the other. The great god of the black tribe rebelled and pounded his cell phone several times. The guy is extremely angry, but he stops, of course. He broke his precious cell phone in the beating, man, but in compensation, he obtained the title of God of Evil. Not only that, but also a title of Cruel Killer, which is achieved when karma reaches 1000 points or more. But he is not evil. He only wiped out an entire population of insects. We all do that every day. And when the coins come together one more time, a ring comes together as a drop, and out of nowhere the guy takes a whiff of the ring and sees if he can, and since he smelled it, why not use it? And when he puts it on, he feels a different sensation. All his fatigue is gone, he is renewed. Then his cell phone notifies once again. It was the eye of the blind god analyzing the ring. This ring was the ring number 808 wore throughout his entire life. Serves to increase elemental power. I mean, did the guy sniff the old man's ring? That it. But what most impressed our great Il-shin was not the ring, it was the evaluation skill, which he starts to use in everything, right? It shows how long it's been used, the guarantee, and even humiliates the guy, saying that his furniture is so old that even the dump wouldn't want it. The guy is feeling a little distant, right? A day ago he didn't have powers, and now he can turn on the air conditioning without pressing the button. But then now with this ring and the assessment skill, is he really a G rank? Definitely not. So off he goes back to the center of paranormal phenomena. The girl even gets a little BN, because the chance of an error in an exam is 1%. So there is no way the system could have given him the wrong rank. But only the first exam is paid by the state. If he wants to retake it, it will only cost 1.5 million wons. There is a facade in the pocket of our dear Il-shin, who at best would become just an F rank. So he decides to leave. He just came to embarrass himself. Instead of playing at being a hunter, he should be writing, because the deadline will end soon. There are many other skilled people there who can do so much more than he does, that he has no ideas to write about, and that's when your eye of the blind god is activated. In addition to items and objects, he can use the skill on people as well, and it's kind of useless information. One guy has hemorrhoids, the other woman is pregnant, which isn't clear at all, judging by her belly, and the other poor guy is a dick. He wants to confirm that this information is really real, but he can't leave this information sad for one or the other, right? But that's when he sees a girl in the distance, next to the poster of a great heroine. He sees his chance to find out. In the skill, it said that she was a little tense, so he goes to her and in the most natural way in the world, he says, "Hi, how are you?" The girl is not very pleased and is already threatening to open fire, without pity or mercy. The guy even tries to explain himself by saying that it's not what she's thinking, but it just gets even more complicated. Luckily, his sister had called him, and he uses this loophole to get the hell out of there. His sister was asking him a favor. She wanted him to take care of her niece, so later when they meet, they start talking and the big guy can't resist. He already takes the poor thing's suggestions there, and that's it. But it's also, look what a beautiful thing. It looks like mashed potatoes, but she didn't like it very much. She hates it when he does that kind of thing, and when she gets mad, she spends the whole day with a frown. But for the glory of our great Il-shin, your judging ability says the girl wants chocolate ice cream. That's easy, right? He touched the weak point of the brat, who is already there drooling willingly, and then they arrive to buy the ice cream. But the protagonist is counting coins to pay. But it's not little, it's so much coin that the attendant becomes a pistol, and is already going to put the ice cream in the bad mood, right? But our great Il-shin will not be defeated by any human being. He has the finger that pokes everything, and soon solves the problem. The stuff got huge, it looks like a tower, and it was a peaceful, smooth day until an ability was activated. Because he is a god in another world, other beings come to him to try to devour him and consume his powers. But they are not ordinary beings, they are extreme oddities. And that's when the whole thing happened. The Lightning Empress appeared, and before all that, her analysis reveals that the monster is there to eat the prota and obtain the divinity of the unknown god. Surely all this was not a coincidence. Moreover, when he died, a message appeared, saying that he has overcome the monster and can acquire a low-class god skill in the god shop without spending a coin. But he is limited to evil god's unique abilities. He and his niece nearly died, and it was all because of that damn cell phone. He even thinks about throwing it in the river, but another message appears. She was the saint of the Black Tribe, begging the nameless god to help them as they were being attacked by the Imperial soldiers, who had come there to take them as prey. All the soldiers were already gathered, the villagers of the tribe were weakened, and only one person could save them. And seeing the cute little creature on the guy's cell phone over there's no way not to save it. Right, he remembers earlier when he was helpless and realizes that he was exactly the same as the ant is now. And then, like a divine miracle, the strength of the Supreme Finger descends to the heavens, thus eliminating all threat. The saint then wants to know the real name of the nameless god. Little does she know that she is talking to the Great IlI-shin. And so, she praises him as a saving god. With this, the protagonist gains the title of merciful god, so he already has titles of good and evil gods. And thanks to his actions, his karma is now neutral. Forgetting the title of merciful god, he will get 100,000 coins. And now business is getting crazy. Right, in a matter of minutes the guy gave up dropping his cell phone in the river to roll it in the little shop. At first he already bought that 1,000 gold item, the blessing of the rising god. It's a little golden vial that looks like a potion. Description of it says that it is a bodily fluid spilled during the training of the perpetual seeker of truth that was bottled. That is, the guy will take someone's sweat, but since it doesn't smell, right, put it inside, but nothing happens to him, right, because it reveals his hidden potential. So the more he takes, the better. The protagonist buys a bunch of vials, and nothing happens, but he ends up fainting, and the assimilation rate of the creator of gods rises from 0% to 5%. What is the use of it? I don't know, but I intend to find out soon. And then IlI-shin finally wakes up from his coma. The guy looked like he had a hangover, but there was something strange there. The ants invaded his room. Angry. Okay, due to the assimilation rate having increased, the Godmaker's battlefield has been updated. He tries to run away, but he can't. Then all the ants attack him, and his room is already full. He sees his only way out the window, but he'd die if he jumped out. He's not crazy, or is he? Because he ends up hitting his face on the window and falling to the ground. But like running away from ants, never. He gets angry and goes into berserker mode, creating a ball of lightning and shooting it at the ants. The ball that was actually a book kind of far away, but that doesn't shake the ants. The archers are ready and launch flaming arrows against our Great IlI-shin, who ends up suffering great damage. The general of the army starts to mock him, because he said he was a god, but he is nothing more than a worm now. Gods are not invincible. The protagonist falls to the ground all pierced with many arrows. He cannot breathe, but he sees his salvation just ahead. A can of insecticide, an excellent weapon against insects. Great IlI-shin was almost in his bed. The Empire's troops were already celebrating, but they celebrated too soon. The terror was to come. They were completely torn apart with a single blow. That was the power of a true god. But the protagonist's house was on fire. He couldn't even breathe. Was that his fate? To succumb in such a miserable way after an intense fight against miserable insects. And that's when the system reminded him of his reward, an ability he would get as a gift. He just had to agree to receive it. And as if by magic, his divine finger acquired extraordinary power. The end of the video here. A story of twists and turns and insane fingers. If you want continuation, you already know. Leave a like and comment below finger, so I'll know. So that's it. Thanks.